I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Deadly Dowagers from Starling Games. Deadly Dowagers is a 2 to 6 player game of, well, mostly murdering your husbands. Genuinely, really, that's the theme of this game. The theme of this game is you are playing as a bunch of noblewomen, or not really noblewomen. In fact, you're starting off as fairly low-born women who are trying to move up in society. We have Cecily, we have Gertrude, we have Constance, Millicent, Mabel, and Dahlia. These are all fictional characters. Maybe, I don't know, possibly. In fact, one of the charming things about the rulebook is it has some fairly unnerving accounts of some real people in life who have spent their life murdering their husbands. And that's where you come in. Your job here is to try to rise up in society to eventually marry the Duke. The problem is, in order to marry the Duke, you'll need to have 120 money in this game in order to pay it out as a dowry, and you need to not have so much infamy that he thinks you're going to murder him next turn. In other words, this game is about two things. It's about working your way up in society and acquiring wealth along the way, and it's ensuring that as you do this, you are not too suspicious. But you will be killing people, so just not too suspicious in the way you do. To that end, the game is going to go through a few phases in the game. As you play through this, you're going to follow your own little player aid, these little boards over here. You're going to be tracking your what's it called? You're going to be tracking your notoriety, your infamy in the game on this track over here. And if it ever goes too high, well, you won't be eligible to marry the Duke, and you'll also start getting less income if you have too much infamy. But past that, you're trying to manage. You're going through the sequence over here where you're going to be drafting cards every single round, playing those cards, going through a phase where you have some degree of abilities. We'll come back to that. And then lastly, just going through housekeeping, which is basically just discarding down to 3 cards. That's it. You draft cards, you play cards, take a special ability, discard down to 3, rinse and repeat until someone marries the Duke. That's the core gameplay. The way you marry the Duke is by getting money, and to that end, a big core component of the game is slowly but surely murdering off your husbands. I'm going to keep saying that throughout the video. It's entertaining. I mean, honestly, having played this game, the amount of times you're just sitting there at the table and you're like, okay, I'm just going to murder my husband now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and elope with, the Duke over there, and I'm going to go ahead and just remarry this person, slowly slaughter that person with a handgun. It's a lot of fun to say these things. Probably not as much fun to do the things, but either way, let's go ahead. Back to the game. So, you're going to draft cards, you're going to draw 5 cards, you're going to draft it on alternating rounds, so round 1 you pass to the left, round 2 to the right, back and forth. You'll be tracking that with a little token, but effectively you pick a card, you pass on, pick a card, pass on, until you're left with a hand of 4 cards, discarding the last card. That's going to be what you're doing over there. From there you're going to play the cards, which mostly are going to be cards that either give you one-time abilities. You know, perhaps you'll go ahead and place some land down to your real estate, which is going to be very helpful because you're going to be dealing with that land when you have a settling of accounts when your husband gets murdered, as is wont to happen when you are the person that you are in this game. Perhaps you play some shipping lines to be able to slowly build up your shipping revenue, again, when your husband gets murdered. And there's 2 kinds of cards to that effect. There's going to be cards that stay in play. Let's see what we have over here. We have a farmland over here that's going to cost you 1 money to play, but will give you 2 money every single time that your husband dies, and there's a settling of accounts, although you are limited to 4 farmland at first, 5 once you marry a wealthier class husband from one of these down here. They're a little more expensive in their dowries, but eventually you do have to work your way up because the Duke is not going to marry you without working your way towards him. But then past that, there's going to be other cards. There's going to be ways to lower your infamy, playing different estates that will lower your infamy by a chunk, so you can go ahead and potentially be able to murder people, but also move your infamy back down. There's going to be affairs you can have to gain money, a whole bunch of things you can do in this game through the playing of cards. But then, when you're done playing the cards, when you're done with all of that, you're going to go to step 3, and step 3 is where you get to play 1 kill or remarry card, one of those 2. Let's see if we can find some over here. You have to play 1 kill or remarry card, and then from there you take an action as well. The action being up to you, voluntary, whether you do or don't want to, but same with the kill or remarry card for that matter. But effectively, doing phase 3 is where you go through the process of either disposing yourself of your current spouse, finding a new one, or doing both, depending on how you play your cards and abilities. To that end, you can play 1 kill or remarry card. A kill card allows you to kill your husband using the implement of choice and gaining that much infamy and triggering your settlements of accounts. Plain and simple. You can always kill a husband. And genuinely, you can always kill a husband because this round also gives you a free action that you can take in addition to playing a kill or remarry card. In fact, more specifically, you can strangle your husband, gaining 7 infamy. It is the most expensive way to deal with your husband that gives you the most infamy. Some of the cards are going to range from 0 infamy to 1 to 2 to 4 to strangling your husband at 7 infamy, but you always have the opportunity to kill your husband. The game never makes you work too hard for a weapon. If there's a weapon around, you can use it, and if not, you can just strangle your husband. this video is totally going to get demonetized. Anyways, past that, so again, you can go ahead and you can play a kill card, and you can also alternatively strangle your husband using a play in action, or alternatively, you can alternatively use a remarry card if you are not currently married. Perhaps you use the action to strangle your husband, and then you play a remarry card, which is going to let you choose a husband card and pay the dowry to the bank on that husband to work your way up in society. Again, alternatively, you also have the option to elope. It's going to be one of the free actions you take, but when you do elope, you're going to get 5 infamy after the marriage. So again, the game ensures you don't need these cards. If you have them, great, but if you don't, you can still kill, marry, elope, strangle, all the fun things over there, but potentially gaining extra infamy along the way. That's going to be the core step in phase 3. There's a concept of upgrading a husband as well. I'm not going to heavily focus on that. Some of the lower class husbands have the ability to upgrade them in this phase to be able to pay out higher dividends when you have a settlement of accounts. And then you go to phase 4, where you're going to discard down to 3 cards. So once again, you draft 5 cards, you play those cards, most of those cards having various abilities that will, either abilities, one-time use things, alternatively ways to generate more income when your husband eventually dies. You'll then go to the phase where you possibly kill or remarry or elope, any of that. Whenever you do kill husbands, they are going to generate a gravestone, ensuring that every time you kill a husband, you get 1 more infamy. In addition to the weapon you utilize, you're going to get 1 infamy for every prior husband. It is, after all, a little bit more suspicious when your 4th husband dies than when your 2nd, 3rd, or 1st husband dies. So there's something to take into account as you go through that. All the while, you're slowly trying to manage your infamy, because your infamy will be going up, especially for strangling or eloping, or just have multiple husbands' deaths. But you need to work your way slowly towards that 120 income, at which point you can finally marry the Duke, assuming you have paid off who you need to pay it off to make sure your infamy is low enough in the game. And then you win. And that's it. That is how you play Deadly Dowagers. Draft cards, go through a bunch of bad stuff, and eventually marry the Duke, and live happily ever. Well, not after so much as like the next week at least. It's probably pretty safe for the next week. Which brings us to the review, starting off with ease of play. The game's fairly easy to dive into. Honestly, the only really confusing part to go through is Step 3 in the game. Step 3 has a sequence where you have to get to play 1 kill or remarry card and 1 of these actions, but it's also very conditional, so you can't kill and then strangle, and you can't remarry and elope. You have to pair one with the other or be left. Again, it's not that hard, but that's the only really confusing step in the game. Everything else is just simply draw cards, draft cards, play cards. That kill, remarry, strangle, elope kind of cycle is the only confusing part, and that's not that hard to go into. The game itself depends on player count to a degree. It is simultaneous play, but the more players you have, the game will be equal to your slowest player at any given time. And so the game ranges a bit, but somewhere in the 30 to 45 minute range. I actually don't know what the box says, but somewhere 35 to 45 minutes in my experience. It says 30 minutes. That's probably about accurate. In any case, that's going to be the ease of play aspect. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which is the baseline is going to be the theme. The theme for all the darkness, and this is one of those themes that might not work for you, the theme is funny. It's different. It's not your usual cup of tea when you play a game, although don't drink the cup of tea. There's probably arsenic poisoning in there. But this is a game that is darker and leads to both an amusing, assuming you appreciate dark humor, which I do, it lends itself to a little bit more humor in the game, both in the actual gameplay, the actual theme, as well as the literal sentences that are being uttered as you play through the game. There's a lot of things that players are saying as they just do the actions in the game that are not the best. I'll strangle you, I'll remarry you, I'll have an affair with this person. Like, it's all just dark and a little bit too much over the top, which again, might not be for you, but it's charming in its own witty, dark humor kind of way. I also particularly appreciate how the rulebook has a lot of real-life examples of various characters throughout history who have gone through a sequence of husbands with a lot of suspicion attached to that sequence of husbands. It is amusing to read through that. Not quite as amusing to be the husbands in that case, but it is like a dark look into what some people's lives have been like, which almost the inspiration for this game in a way. So overall, the theme stands out for better or for worse. I do like the fact that there's always different options at the table, including increasing your infamy to get those actions. So in other words, you have that aspect of you're never really truly stuck needing a kill card, needing a remarry card. You'll draft the cards you need, but if you don't get them, that's okay. You have your core actions in the game, you can utilize those, and you are slowly building up a tableau in the game. Combined with the drafting, it's got drafting and tableau building, in the sense that you are drafting cards, you're building up a tableau, you'll get stronger, progressively more and more income, until one day you are able to marry, and totally not kill, the Duke in this game. So it gives you drafting, it gives you tableau building in a quick, accessible form, and there's a nice procedural growth to the way everything slowly moves up as you go through that 30 to 40 minutes of gameplay. As far as what I don't like in the game, the really only complaint I have against it is that it is very much on the lighter side as far as the actual decision tree at play. This is a game that's charming, but it also doesn't really do that much that's new or interesting. The theme is the thing that really makes it stand out as new or different and interesting. The gameplay is fine. It has, drawing cards, drafting cards, building a tableau, but none of those things are done in a way that I found particularly compelling or interesting. It works well at what it does, but it doesn't break the mold mechanically speaking. Nothing here stood out as, that's amazing. It all stood out as, hey, this is a solidly well-designed game with a nice sequence in play and a charming theme laid over it. It is a little bit on the lighter side. It doesn't really break new ground when it comes to the mechanics of the gameplay itself. So not really a complaint. It's just the gameplay itself didn't really impress so much as just being totally fine. As far as what I can see others not liking, oh wait, no, I have one more thing. I do have one more thing in the what I personally don't like category, which is there is a rule in place that you must use a remarry card to marry the Duke. That final endgame condition of marrying the Duke, you must have a remarry card. You cannot do it with eloping in the game. Now, it's not a problem once you really take that into account, but our first game of this involved us playing through the game and then getting to the end, and no one had a remarry card for literally 3 rounds of play. It got to the point where one player was ready to win, couldn't get a remarry card. Then another player was ready to win, and 3 players were ready to win, and no one had a remarry card for like 3 rounds of play, which was just a kind of anticlimactic way to be like, okay, I have enough money, and now we're just drafting and hoping for the best until eventually multiple players got it at once, and there is a rule in place of who has the most money, but it just was an anticlimactic ending to the first game. Now, past that, once you know that, you can dive into it again, and it is worth holding onto cards. It's worth having a remarry card at your disposal, taking that into account. But it was a very anticlimactic end to the first game to kind of go through the entire game and then be ready to win and just be left out to dry based on the drawing of the cards. It just wasn't the best. It's okay, and again, if you know it, you can plan around it, but it wasn't the best. As far as what I can see others not liking, primarily we're going to have the theme. The theme is, to me, it is dark and twisted in a way that I find amusing and leads to fun moments as you play through the game. But also, I mean, you've watched this video. If by now you haven't been turned off by the theme, then it probably will work for you. And if you have been turned off by the theme, well, then you probably already know it. This is the kind of game that it is. It lends itself to that idea of you are doing bad things in this game. You are murdering your husband. Whatever gender you are, you may or may not like that. I don't know. You just might find it distasteful. Or you may find it it's dark. It is dark. Take it or leave it. You might not like this game. As far as final thoughts on Deadly Dowagers, for me, overall, the game is fine. The theme is the main thing that stands out. The theme is the main reason to kind of pay attention to this game as opposed to another game. The game works. I have no real complaints, but it is kind of on the light side. It is fairly procedural in the gameplay. It works and checks all the boxes, but it doesn't either inspire. So I would say if you want a good game that I do think is pretty solid and has a very charming theme to it, Deadly Dowagers is right up your alley. For me, mechanically, it didn't really stand out as much, and as much as I do find the theme charming, it's not enough for me to continue to dive into this one again and again and again. This is a 3 out of 5 for me. I enjoyed it, but I'm also ready to move on from it. As far as other game recommendations, if you're looking for something in this general timeline and the universe, but with a little less of a dark theme, I highly recommend Obsession as being something that will give you this taste, but with a little bit more courtship and a little bit less murder. And then additionally, if you're looking for a game that is a very, very different genre, but gives you that kind of pacing of the game where it's about kind of lending yourself up to a certain level, getting the most you can, resetting, next level, getting the most you can, resetting, Small World has a very similar arc as you lean into civilizations and you take over the world, figuring out how much you can get out of the civilization before you kind of move on to the next one. Not that dissimilar to the husbands you are murdering in Deadly Dowagers. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.